Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Magnetic Online Leaders Podcast. I am Steffi Lane, your host. This is the podcast where we explore how to tap into your authentic magnetism and become a powerful leader in the online space and beyond. So, today I'm actually thrilled and honestly a little bit giggly because I have a very special guest, Jenner Linden. Jenner is the founder of The Wild Ones, a vibrant community for heart centered seekers and transformational leaders. And as an intuitive coach, she created a healing space where people can explore their wild side and path to personal fulfillment. And honestly, she has some really good gems in her community. And honestly, I just love her so much. She's so fun. Every time I think about her, she brings a smile to my face. I'm just super giggly. I can't even get through this intro because I just love her so much. Because in this episode, we deep dive into her journey from struggling to find her voice and purpose to building a thriving online community. We discuss the power of intuition, how to cultivate magnetism, the importance of creating beauty and sacred space and feng shui on our lives and businesses. And Jenner really shares vulnerable stories about her growth, practical tips for developing your intuition, inspiring insights on authentic leadership. And this is the podcast, whether you're an established entrepreneur or you're beginning on your self discovery journey, because this conversation has so much wisdom in it. Like, literally, I feel like it's Jenner and me talking about like 10, 15 years of our journey of discovering our voice, our magnetism, our intuition. I highly recommend that you listen to this. This will help you connect with your power and create a life and business that you absolutely divinely love and just icing on the cake sort of thing. You can check out Jenner's podcast, Enter the Portal. It's also on Spotify, and I'm one of her guests on it as well. So if you're ready, let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Magnetic Online Leaders Podcast. Today I'm joined by Jenner, and I have a beautiful back end story with Jenner, but what's really interesting with her and her story, and I was listening to her podcast called Enter the Portal, which you absolutely need to listen to. But when I was listening to Jenner's story, and there was so many parallels between my life and her story. So I want to go first into that. And of course, these conversations are like your business bestie. We are talking about magnetism. And yeah, hi, Jenner.
Hey, Steffi. I'm so excited to be here. So
Yay.
much fun. Our first podcast together. Well, you were on Enter the Portal, but
Yes,
first time I'm on yours. So this is exciting. Thank you for having me.
of course. What I want to talk about for Enter the Portal is you did a podcast episode on your story. And it was like I was doing that podcast because we had a lot of parallels. We both grew up in Christian households. I grew up Mormon, which is technically Christian. And we both like suppressed our voice. I couldn't speak for a really long time as a little kid. We both have sisters. We both like majored or minored in film. There's a lot. And we both had ex-boyfriends that left us and felt like completely devastating and all the things. Hi. Hi, my twin.
Hey, that's awesome. I love how our lives parallel like that. And I find that so often in this world of self-development, there's a lot of parallel between people. And a lot of it times that conditioning or the suppression of voice comes in a lot for people. Like, how do I share my voice? How do I share authentically, which comes up with being magnetic, right? Like, who am I?
Mhm.
Who am I really in this world? How do I really ground myself in that? And how do I know myself? Like, with
Mhm.
all of this noise and all of these things that are happening around us all the time, it's like, how do we really get to that place of trust and knowing our voice, not having that other voice in our heads? I don't know if you had that as a kid. I always had my sisters and for
Mhm.
the
Is she older?
longest time. My older sister, yep, 7
Mhm.
years. And it wasn't until like I started doing self-development work that I even noticed that she was there. Because it was
Mm.
just like this normal voice telling me what to do and how to be and how to act and what to say, and that's not right, and that this, that, and the other thing, and it wasn't until I started doing this work that I like, the voice went away, and I was like,
Yeah.
"How fucking cool is"
And then it
like,
became
I don't need that voice. Yeah.
Well, I guess let's talk about that because we both struggled with our voices as young little girls. And
Yeah.
I was even like in a speech class where they had to teach me to enunciate things and not have the stutter and not be so, I was so fearful.
Mhm.
How were you? Like, what I remember just feeling so much fear in my body to speak up.
Yeah, I don't remember much, but I hear a lot from
Mm.
my aunties will tell me. They'll tell me that my sister did all the talking for me, that I never really got to speak up, and it would be things like we would be at, like, the ice cream cart, and they would ask if I wanted a strawberry or a chocolate, and she would just answer for me.
Oh, she
And
wants
so
strawberry.
yeah, yeah. So, it was that constant of someone just answering for you, doing things for me, I should say, and it's so I didn't actually develop my speech until later, although I didn't do speech class, and I think it went well as far as I know. But I
Mhm.
think for me, what I really felt was that what I had to say wasn't important. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was saying, that's why I needed someone else to do it for me, so what's the point anyway? And it
Mhm.
really is something that just carried through my entire life, relationships with friends. I often picked friends that were way louder than I was
Mm.
and way more robust and would be out there and
Would you have
being this
falling out with those
person. Yeah,
friends?
I would be kind of the follow along, just hanging around. And I even got called tag along when I was a kid with my best. Like I had a bestie and I had her friends would call me that because they just thought I didn't say much.
You were a side
I
character.
was her sidekick. There you go. That's exactly what it was. And yeah, and but that's, I would never give that up, that experience of understanding what that is. I will tell you that one of the things that I've learned about myself that's really amazing is that I'm such an incredible listener.
Mm.
I really learned how to listen from that and really hear people and really understand people and feel people and connect with people. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm really great at creating community, and the thing that what I do with the Wild Ones community and really creating that space is because I want people to be seen. I want others to be seen, to
Mhm.
be heard in that way. And by reclaiming my own voice, by reclaiming like, oh, this is what's important to me. This is what lights me up. This is what makes me feel good. I'm actually really witty and really silly and just fun and playful and totally weird and love making weird faces and doing weird things and just whatever. Like I just love play and laughter. That's like my go-to, and it wasn't that, and I didn't know that, and I didn't know that's how I was. But that's my authenticity, right? Like that's
Mhm.
my magnetism. That's what draws people into me. That's what draws people into saying, "You're so welcoming," or "You're a great listener," or all those pieces. And it's because of my upbringing. It's
Yeah.
because I didn't speak a lot. I was able to hone into different pieces. Did you find that as well?
Well, it's interesting because what now we have podcasts and now we're vocal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where
It
you're
is
not gonna shut us up now.
right? We needed it to amplify us into
Mm,
showcasing and sharing, and it's interesting because I get these reflections a lot where people are like, "Wow, your voice is so booming, it's so powerful." I'm like, "It was not like that all the time. I had to work on it." And so I wanna talk about from your crisis of being, like, on the bathroom floor, crying, to building and founding the Wild Ones, which is an incredible community, which I actually had the opportunity to be in a few of them, which is so fun, I freaking love it. How did you discover your own magnetism, and what role did your intuition play in discovering it?
yeah, good questions. Yeah, and
It's never
just to
one thing.
start right, with the story, it was I was about 29 years old. It was definitely Saturn return for me, and I always say, like, my 20s were, I drank a lot, I played a lot, I wasn't responsible at all, but I went to film school. I did the film school thing, and it's really actually interesting when I went to film school because
Where'd
it's
you go to film
behind the
school?
camera, right? We both did behind the camera
Mm.
stuff, right?
Mhm.
Film school's behind the camera. And my teacher, I remember saying to me, he was like, "You have such a good voice." And this is an Emmy award winning director and producer was telling me this. He's like, "You have such a great voice. You should do like radio." And of course, podcast wasn't a thing at the time, right?
Right, we're
But
dating
I
ourselves.
just was like, so I felt so seen. And it was just like, and I hadn't done any kind of self development work yet, but it also was kind of like, yeah, yeah. But also, how about if I just like produce things and be the
Mm.
background and be this person back here instead of the person up here kind of thing? So when I was, yeah, 29 years old, I'd been dating this guy on and off for about 3 years, and he was never wanting to commit. Like, it was the non-committal, my little non-self-esteem self had to keep running after him. We all had those, right? Other people have we have that 1 or 2 or 3, however many we had to run in the fire with. Thank God I only had 1 of those. That's all I needed
You
was
got
the
your
big
lesson.
ones.
Potent.
Yeah, so we ended up moving in together. He, like, decided to seal the deal, and we moved in, and we'd been together for a week, a whole week living together of bliss. Not really, because he ended up breaking up with me. I got home from work one day, and he just, like, was sitting there crying, and he's like, "I can't do this." I'm like, "Are you
Mm.
kidding me right now? Like, what is even happening?" I had went from cloud 9 of I finally got the guy and, yeah, tackled him and chased him. Like, that's what it felt like, right? But so he left, and I sat on the edge of my bed. I remember just sitting there going, "What in the world just happened? How did this just happen?" And it occurred to me, "Jenner, you did this. You never told him you loved him the whole time you were with him." I was so afraid he was gonna leave me if he actually knew how I felt about him. I mean, that's how far away from my voice I was at that time. That's how far away disconnected from my body, disconnected from myself completely, and all engulfed in it, wrapped up in this external dude and putting all my power on him, all my everything on him. It was wild. It was wild. So it was a really huge wake up moment for me. And I like mentioning this because this is we all have so many points in our life when we get to choose, and we get to choose the path that we've been going down for a while, and we can keep going that way. And oftentimes that's the easy way because it's comfortable to us, even if it doesn't feel good, right? Like that pain didn't feel very good, didn't want to do that again. But I knew it, my body knew it, I knew how that felt, so I could have kept going down that way, and we all can keep essentially going into the fire, so to speak, or we can choose a different path. We can
Mhm.
say, "This is my moment where I get to choose something different for my life. I get to really connect with myself in a different way. I get to know myself in a different way, not from the one that I had been taught, not the one that had been traumatized with all the little t and big T traumas in my life. I get to choose now what this looks like." And for me, thank God, I was actually my sister at the time had been doing self-development work. And that's how I ended up going down that journey. And because I was so curious and playful, I was like, sure, let's do it. Like, what is this? I don't know. I kind of thought it was a cult at first.
It can be
Really.
sometimes.
It definitely can be. And it wasn't, but yeah, I started following that path, and after my first self-development course weekend, my whole world opened up. It was just like, "What just happened?" There was so much more that I could be, that I could learn, that I could do, that I didn't even know in my little world that I'd been holding on to and hanging into for so long. So that was 29. I'm 47 now. So it was a long I mean, I've been doing this work for a long time and
Mhm.
everything shifted. It was about 4 years later that I met my husband, who I told I loved him first before he
Mhm.
even told me, and I was like I was really at that point in my life where I didn't care. It was just like, "This man is amazing, and I just want him to know how I feel," and that was it. Of course, he said it back, and now we've been married for 11 years? Yeah, 11 years. So, it worked out.
It worked out. Oh my goodness. And so do you feel like, because I can really resonate, especially because I worked in film, I worked in commercials, and being behind the scenes, like, I have a story, even one like, so for example, my teeth are always white. They're pretty white. I'm smiling right now. And I did a teeth whitening commercial, and they hired some typical stereotypical model for it. And
Mhm.
I was working behind the scenes. And this is obvious. It now it all makes sense. And the producer at the time told me, "Why aren't you the model in front? Why aren't you?" And there's a lot of things too, especially because being Latin, being Hispanic, like there not a lot of they at the time weren't not a lot of
Mm-mm.
opportunities for us. And he's like, "Why aren't you in front of the camera? You have white teeth in the model." And I did. And the model showed up and she had yellow teeth. I kid you not, which is a total wrong from the casting director to do that.
But also kind of perfect for you.
Kinda perfect for me,
Yeah,
and I don't think they used me, I didn't get in the footage, but it was a real big confidence booster
right.
for me to be like, "Why aren't I? Why aren't I the model in the
Mhm.
front? Why am I not the producer? Or why am I not the actor, the lead, the main character? Why do I have to be this side character?" Sort of thing.
Yeah.
You said something about having friends, and I'm going a different route, which is fun. You said something about having friends and really just being that side character.
Mhm.
What happened or what has happened when you started stepping into your magnetism? Now you have, like, a huge community. How many people do you have in your community now?
Almost 1,000.
Oh my god, you have, like, almost
Yeah.
1,000. You have this huge community that's, like,
Well,
growing and
that's the paid community. I should say, like, all of the people that are involved in the well is over 60,000 now.
okay, over 60,000, with incredible.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see okay, so what the question is, from you being more behind the scenes to now you being a leader, what has that felt like? What has been the positive attributes and what has been, like, the not so the icky, sticky stuff that had to come with growth, with self-development?
Yeah. Oh, it's a big step. I will go back to the moment when I realized that it was time for me to step out. So I think we head out on this journey of self-exploration and we keep looking up to the teachers and all the people that are doing this great work, doing the podcasts, doing the courses and the memberships and all the things. And we get involved with all of it and we start learning about ourselves and doing really great work in our lives, noticing a difference in our lives. And that's what was happening for me. But I didn't have this I still didn't have this, like, push that I was going to go do that work. That wasn't in my mind. That wasn't a thing that I was thinking I was going to do. And it was in 2016 when the whole world essentially got flipped on its head, so to speak.
Oh, during the election?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
everyone's
I
like,
remember that.
"WTF just happened?"
Mhm.
And I'm just sitting there going, how does this happen?" And I'm thinking in this aspect of this guy that's obviously chauvinistic and absolutely shitty towards women and gives
Mhm.
no regard to them whatsoever. And then obviously people of all color and all of these things is like, how what can we like put person in power
Mhm.
that takes away like a good 50s, 60% of the world? I don't even know, but and just says no to them. And it was just really heartbreaking for me because my thing was like, I'm always about everyone. Let's bring everyone together. That's why the Wild Ones is for everyone. It's not just a women's circle. Sometimes people say that. The thing is, it's just for women. I'm like, no, there's a lot of women in there, but I want to keep my doors open to every single person that's ready to have this internal conversation with themselves, to have this kind of community surrounded by them. So at the time, though, obviously, I didn't know any of this or have any of this, and none of this was in my head, but I remember sitting in meditation and just asking my guides, like, "What do I do? Like, I've done all this work. I've created all this change in my life. What's the thing that I will do?" And at the time, I had been doing so many different oddball kind of things, and what came through was empower women. And I was like, "No, that's everyone's talking about that. You crazy. That's
Which
not
is
real."
so crazy in 2016, we thought everyone was thinking that. Okay.
Everywhere.
But fast
Everywhere.
forward to now, yeah,
Yeah.
anyways. It's never saturated, y'all.
No, empowering women is not a saturated. It is not. Now we know. Now we know. Yeah. So it stuck with me for like a week and I couldn't get rid of it. It just hung and I'm like, and I kept thinking about it and thinking about it. And it just dawned on me like, Jenner, why not? Why wouldn't you do that? Like, hello, like
Mhm.
what you've done with your life and I mean, we've barely even touched an iceberg of the things that I've done in my life. I'm also a 3-6, if anyone knows that projector. So if anyone knows the threes have a
Number 3,
pretty
trial
year
by
3,
fire.
yeah,
Mhm.
pretty transformational experience. There's a lot of trying things out and not working out and that kind of
We
play. So
have
I've
the
done a lot
phoenix
of that.
energy, which
Mhm.
rises from the ashes.
Yeah.
But then or we can be a burnt chicken, which I heard from one of my mentors say that.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
That's kinda what I felt like it was coming to that point where Jenner was a burnt chicken if she didn't, like, do something. Like, no doubt. Like, for real. I mean, my gosh, I had been doing stuff for, like, over 10 years at that point, whatever it was. So, anyway, I got this hit to do some incredible work, and I started doing events in person in Minneapolis because one of the things that I did in my career was I did events for nonprofits, raising money for nonprofits. And so I thought, well, this is something I love doing. I love creating community. I love creating events. Let's start here. So I created a meetup and it grew really, really fast, like crazy, crazy fast. It was kind of insane. And I actually still have the meetup to this day. I actually have 2 of them now or 3 of them, but they come to like almost 10,000 people just inside this meetup community. And I was so excited about it though. I was so happy. It was like people want this stuff. They wanna know about it. I called it holistic discovery at the time. And I brought in people from all over the Twin Cities that did workshops on self-development and magic and healing, and we did breath work, and we did drum circles, and we did astrology, and we did all these different things that I love because I love this vast array of knowing and healing and practices. So it grew really fast, but I knew that I needed to take it online. I knew it had to go
Mhm.
online. This couldn't just be in Minneapolis in the Twin Cities. And the one thing that I really thought about is I want to touch all these communities that don't have this kind of access. But it's not necessarily the LA or the New York or the Austin or whatever, but like there's so much ground to cover in this world where people don't have this immediate access to be able to share themselves in this way. And it's probably one of the biggest things I hear about the wild ones where people are like, I feel like I can actually share myself here. I can actually like be weird. I can be wild. I can like talk about all these things. And I love that because that was the whole purpose. And so 2020, actually, you and I met at the beginning of 2020, like the last in person event.
No, it was January of 2020.
It was January
Mhm.
2020, yeah, so it was in
Mhm.
person in San Diego, and I knew in that moment I wanted to take it online, and I didn't know what the iteration was gonna look like, but my coach had a conversation with me, and she's like, "Why don't you do a big summit?" And I'm like, "Ah, okay, I could do that," and we're just in conversation, she's like, this person, and this person should be on it." So as soon as we get off the call, she sends me emails introducing us, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"So I guess we're doing this?" And
We
that's the power
project
of
our
a
thing.
coach, y'all. This is the
Yeah.
power of working with somebody one-on-one, is they're not gonna let you play small. They're gonna push you off that ledge when you get to have these conversations, and they introduce you to your people.
And also, it's a
They're
very projector move too to be like, you got invited,
I
right? The
totally,
invitation.
totally did. Oh, that got me chills. I didn't even think about that way.
Yeah, invitation. I mean, and, where I'm a Manny Jenny and I
Mhm.
respond, so and respond through my sacral. So I freaking love human design. We could go okay, I digress. Go ahead.
I talk about human design on every single episode. You know,
You're
but
like, "This is not even a
go,
human design episode."
oh, there, right? It's like, yeah, I do the same. It's funny. Yeah, so anyway, so I did the rewild that became our rewilding virtual retreat, which is I think we're in our 5th year now. We're gonna run it in October this year. We've had over 20,000 people join us for rewilding. It's been this incredible event, really different than any other summit out there. I think all of us have understood the world of summits by now, and it kinda just feels like this, I'm grabbing your email address and then you can sell me something, and we really don't do it that way. We really do create this container, and the whole idea, the reason why we call it an online retreat is because that's how I really treat it. And so we
Mhm.
start off with an opening ceremony where we invite everybody in and we do some beautiful practices together. And then over the next however many days we have it going on, we have all these different experts and teachers that share, but it's not like a podcast style. It's more like doing the work within it, just like you would in a retreat. So
It's
you're
like a
doing the
workshop
yoga,
style. Yeah.
yeah, you're doing the journaling, you're doing the practices. And then at the end of it, we all come together again. So we have this nice little container where we do our closing ceremony and we close it up and we connect. And the profound results that come out of it are just like it always at the end of it, I'm completely exhausted as my projector self should be, but I'm also just, like, on cloud 9 thinking, like, "Wow, this was worth it," just knowing what people get from that. So
Yeah.
through that is how we created the Wild Ones community. So the first time that we did rewilding, I didn't really know what I was gonna do. You have to do some kind of thing, right? Like, you gotta do a course, or you gotta do something after you do a big summit like that, and I had no idea, and I was actually, like, planning. I was, like, almost like it was almost launched, and I still didn't know what I was gonna do, and I just got this download, like, "Why don't you just bring the wild ones or what you're doing in person and bring it online? Do a
Mm.
community online," and it was just like, "Yeah."
I sh The first one.
The first one.
I think it
When?
was the first retreat in 2020,
You
right?
might have been. Yeah, you probably were.
Yeah, I
'Cause I
think I
just
was at
met
the
you, and
first
I was
one.
like, "This amazing woman needs to be." Yeah,
I know, we had just met and you're like,
yeah.
"Hey, wanna be on this retreat thing?" And we were in COVID, I think it was January. I think it was not January, I think it was June or that you asked me to do it, or May. And I was like, "Sure." I didn't know what I was doing. We didn't know what we
We
were getting
didn't know what we're
ourselves
doing.
into. We did it. It was very workshop. It was really fun. I think I talked about dark goddesses and dark goddess
Mm,
energy
mm.
from what I remember, and it was just incredible. Well, for people that are listening, it seems like for people, I don't know, it seems like for definitely for you and for me, we get these, like, intuitive hits. We say downloads, we say guidance, and to us, it's like it's a second language, but to other people, it is like a freaking foreign language. What would you say is what does even intuition mean? What is that guidance? And how do you use intuition to guide you to magnetism, to guide you to be your most vibrant self? Because we wanna be happy, healthy, hot, or whatever you're deciding that you're wanting to be in your life, right? And how does intuition play such a big role in this? And I know that's what you teach in the Wild Ones, like one of the main anchors.
I love that you, yeah, even asked this question because it's such a big one. Like, how do you know that hit was your guide and that one wasn't? And for me, and I think everybody has a different experience. It's a body sensation. It's that body. Like when I got that hit the first time, I didn't really know. But I also, once I go further into my development and my career and all these things, now I know like, oh, that's it.
Mm,
And it's like you're constantly, what's the word? It's like we're constantly learning of what is that trigger for us, so to
yeah.
speak, lack of better word. But like, what is that? Is it something that we get in our heads? Is it something in your body? And I'm also a splenic projector. So if you know what that is, that means I get the hit like right away. I get that knowing like right away. And for me, it's just like, I don't know, it's just like it seems like the craziest thing in the world, and it seems like don't even why would you do that? Kind of like my husband and I leaving our home of 9 years and hitting the road in a camper, like, why would you do that?
Mhm.
Why would you get that intuitive hit? But thank God we did it. Like, sometimes we get those hits and we just know no matter how crazy it is, but to come to that place for me was through meditation. It was through connecting with myself on the daily. I don't do anymore, but I used to do hour meditation every day for years.
Mhm.
Like literally every single morning, I would get up and I'd sit on my mat and I would light my candles and I would connect with the spirits of the land and the guides and all the
I think
things.
we all go through a phase like that.
Yeah. And
I went
just
through,
sit.
like, 10 years where I freaking meditated every day for 20
Yeah.
minutes, and then I decided to not do it to
Mhm.
see what happens, realized I didn't like that. Yeah, and then went back to it, but found my own way. Now I meditate, like, 5 minutes. But, yes, you were saying about meditation that you were doing this for, like, an hour each day,
Mhm.
and then what did that progress into?
And I think that's what really helped me know myself. Which
Mhm.
sounds crazy because that was, like, super quiet. I mean, I wasn't doing anything, I wasn't listening to a meditation, I wasn't doing movement. I was literally just sitting with myself for an hour. And I don't do it that way anymore, now I do breath work, that's the thing that I'm doing more of, so I do, like, 20 minutes. Yeah, so I do it's, like, evolved into different things. But, yeah, that for me, I personally think is what helped me hone in on my intuition, like, the biggest. It's the quiet moment. It's the moments that we can shut down our mind, and I know not everybody has that. Some people have their brains are going all the time, and it's really hard to do that shutdown. And I think that is why I like the breath work now. I think that really helps kind of connect. But having a practice that is going to help you just be quiet, turn the social media off, turn all the things off, whatever it is. If you're doing yoga or you're doing a grounding practice or you're doing a meditative practice or breath work or whatever it is, like having that practice is what's going to help us hone in on our intuition even more deeply. And that is our power, y'all. Like intuition can kind of get thrown around like, oh, yeah, I got this hit and that thing, but that's our power. And this is a power that has been kind of suppressed for a really long time that each one of us has. And that's why I think we think it's like woo woo or I don't have that and some people have it and you have it. But no, every single one of us has it. And unless you were taught since the day you were born to really honor that, which most of us have not been taught
Mhm.
to honor that intuitive hit, then we got to work at it. Just like we go to the gym, just like we go on a diet, just like we eat healthy food. We have to actually work on listening to our intuition and trusting ourselves, trusting our bodies, trusting what's coming through to us. This is our power.
I feel like you're saying this message to me, just specifically to me, because I have been getting the intuitive hit that I am going into an intuition season. I
Mhm.
feel like I feel like as creators, we go into different seasons. So some seasons we're going for it, and some seasons we're being more quiet and reflective, and some seasons we're creating communities and creating meetups like
Mhm.
you. And I keep getting these downloads that it's time to eat. Because so even with my workouts, so my workouts have been good. I actually want to enhance my workouts. I want to get stronger. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to enhance my workouts. Now I actually want to enhance my intuition. So I don't know if there's like a mystery school or something that there's something that's calling to me to literally open up the intuition. And it feels like
Mhm.
I'm gonna go from, like, a 50-pound weight to, like, a 100-pound weight. That's how it feels like. Like, "Let's go for it. Let's do the squats."
That's amazing. And isn't
Yes,
it the most incredible feeling that you just like have this knowing and you're like, this is real, this is coming through.
Mhm.
I didn't have to have someone else tell me. I didn't have to spend thousands of dollars on this thing to like know myself, right? Like you get to kind of do that yourself.
You get to kinda do that. Can you talk about moments or a story of when you got intuitive hits or when your intuition was like a baby versus when your intuition is, like, way more advanced?
Oh god.
And I'll give a story. I can it's just to, like, give you
Yeah.
some time to think about it, but baby would be, like, when I needed to move well, this is not really baby, but when I was in, college, I needed to move to Long Beach State for a little bit just to get away from my family, and I had a boyfriend, he broke my heart and all the things, I just needed to get away. I'm from San Diego, so Long Beach and San Diego are very short, but I just, like, was like, "I have to go. I have to go. I have to go. This has to happen." Versus more advanced would say, "I think we're gonna get a free trip to Bali. I can feel something
Mm,
happening. Something's happening. I feel Bali calling to me." And I can feel like certain frequencies have different points where they call onto you.
mhm.
And then literally my coach, which was a projector, she invited me and was like, "Hey, do you wanna come to Bali? I'll pay for you to be my support coach. Come." So it's so cool to see, like, the strengths. So if you could tell us
Mhm.
stories of, like, baby Jenner and versus master Jenner.
I don't know. I still think I'm baby Jenner.
Well, I guess we're always baby Jenner. I mean,
I
baby
really do. I'm like there's definitely times that I have where I think it's the thing, and I think I need to go through and do it, but then it ends up not being exactly what I thought it was, but who knows that it didn't lead to some other piece or something else as well. But I think that's always kinda hard to, like we gotta just trust ourselves and trust the movement that we go through.
Hmm.
One of my polls for me a while back was to go to everybody was in Tulum, and it was the thing, and I
What year
think
was
it
the
yeah, and it was like it was after 2020,
okay.
and so I wanted to get out, like, I had been doing I think it was in 20 did I go in 22? Yeah, I think I might have went in 22.
Yeah.
Um, So everybody had been going and connecting with people, and I was like, I gotta go and get out of the house." I'd been doing rewilding and the wild ones for so long, for the 2 years, that I'm like, "It's time to go out and meet people." And I really thought that was my place, even though it was like I still kind of had this little like, "Oh, it is that really"
But you
like,
went.
and but, huh?
But you went.
I went. I went
Mm.
anyway, but I thought I would meet other entrepreneurs and connect with people, and it wasn't that. We ended up getting sick. Yeah, I ended up getting sick from a cenote. It was super sad. Ended up going home early
Oh,
because of it. Yeah, it was, like, so not good. So, and I have instances like that happen. So, I think it's really great because I listened to what I thought was my intuition, but actually I did have this, like, heady piece. This is for me, right? Like, this is
mhm.
my thing. I know that when I have that nagging thing that's like, "No, Jenner, this doesn't seem right. It's not quite the right thing. There's something more." Yeah. I
Yeah.
also think things fall into place a lot easier when our intuition is like, when we're listening to our intuition.
Yeah. I
Yep.
agree with you on that, and it's so interesting because when you get those moments of, "I wanna go," and maybe there was perhaps some ego or probably you were just stir crazy, which everybody
Yeah.
was after COVID, and you're just like, "Get me out of here," which is nothing wrong with that. But then you went, and then it didn't end up like the way you wanted it to be, which is what happened to me when I went to San Diego last summer. I went to San Diego last summer, and I felt this, like, pull. It was like, "Yes," and sacral, and it was like, "Go for it. Go back. Just be." I had some family stuff I had to address and be around, and, just be there, be 100% there. And I had an absolute meltdown when I was there. I had, like, a 2-week meltdown. I spiraled out of control. I went to therapy, which was good. You know, you need to go to those therapy sessions,
Mhm.
but I know that I needed that. Again, the phoenix, the 3rd line. I needed that spiral down so I could extend up really, really fast.
Yeah.
So perhaps
That's
that was why you needed to go to Tulum, collect the codes, and then go wherever you needed to go after
that's
that.
what I felt like too, and I love that you have that story because just because something didn't work out doesn't mean that isn't what you needed.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes that's what you needed, right? To
Mhm.
to do the next step or to understand yourself a little bit more. Yeah.
With magnetism, back to the beautiful magnetism, what does magnetism feel like? What does it connect with? What is it for you when you're like, "Ooh, I'm magnetic?" What comes to mind?
I think about so when I think of magnetic, I think about that exchange that we have with the world and with the universe and the energy of what we're putting out there is getting matched with what we have coming back. And of course, can be services and money that can be a piece of it. It can also be relationships, it can be connections, it can be community, it can be friendships, it could be land, it could be all these other things that you have or exchange through. So I think of magnetic as kind of being it's like I love magnetism because it helps us to know when we're not. Like, it helps
Ooh.
us to really understand that piece, which is so important because that's what this is essentially is this kind of this game and this play of exchange. Like, okay, this is what I'm creating, this is what I'm putting out in the world. How is it being received? Oh, I didn't really get what I thought would come back, or this didn't happen the right way. But that's where we can start playing with our own energy. Okay, maybe I'm not open to receiving, or maybe this isn't what they wanted, or you kind of start playing with your own. Is this really actually align with who I am and what I'm doing? And I actually had that happen with a program that I did many years ago. And I was like, I just put it out because I thought I had to put it out. And this is what you're supposed to do. And all of those pieces. And it didn't, but it just didn't align. And the whole program was kind of like hard and it didn't really get done the way it needed to get done. And all of these pieces didn't really work. And that's because I wasn't in alignment with it. Right.
Mhm.
But I'm glad I did it because now I know.
Now you now you know, right?
Now I know.
What does that non-alignment look like? Because do you feel like magnetism 1, do you feel like magnetism and alignment are the same thing? And 2, do you think that when you're not in alignment, when you're not magnetic, what does that like, what are the outside things? What's the outside realm speaking to you?
Yeah. It just feels hard. like things aren't working, right?
I
It just
know.
kind of feels like you're stuck.
You're
And it's
moving
like,
through.
why are, yeah, like people aren't listening. Why are people grabbing onto this idea or offer or thing? Or because I'm a businesswoman. So a lot of it comes up in that way of that exchange of what you put yourself out energetically into the world and your own wisdom and those pieces, and then seeing what comes back. And it's like, okay, I always work on my receiving. That's always a big piece for me. Constantly, okay, so I'm not open to receiving right now, and then I generally do some type of breath work or some type of practice, or I get into my feminine. Feminine is all about receiving. So I might take a bath or put on a really beautiful silky robe and just feel really good, or dance to a song, because our businesses are so masculine and it's so easy to get there. So for me, I notice if it's not coming in the way that I like it to come, I know that I need to pause. I know that I need to go on a walk. I know I need to get in nature. I know I need to do something creative or fun or play or go out and hang out with some friends or something.
Yeah. Thank you
Mhm.
for that. Thank you for that permission. I needed it.
You know, we do, don't we?
I was
We
talking
were
to
have to
Jenner
work hard all the time.
talking to Jenner, but before we pushed live on this podcast, and I was feeling I still feeling a little, not I wouldn't say frazzled is the word. I'm just feeling a little tired, and that's not who I am. Who I am is, like, vivacious and spunky, and I'm feeling tired because the old me is releasing a lot of the old ways I ran my business, and then the new me is coming in. So I'm in this transition, which tends to affect my sleep, which honestly, if I just get a good night's sleep, I'm good, but anyways, and I told myself, "Oh, I can't show up today. I can't show up for Jenner. I just can't do this." And I'm like, "No, the old version of me would have let outside circumstances affect me, but my new circumstances, the new person who I am and who I'm stepping into, uses these adversities, uses these challenges, and also I'm honest about them and I'm real about where I am in this moment because I'm able to move through it a lot quicker. It's like you can move through things. What I feel like when you're not in alignment is when things again are starting to stack against you. But when you realize, you know what? I'm over this. Let me just move this block over to like the left side. Let me just walk through. And guess what? That's where like the magnetism comes in. That's where the lessons come in. That's when inspiration comes in. That's when your
Mhm.
power comes in. And I just wanna make sure that people don't think that magnetism is always about being this high vibe, happy go lucky person. It's about choice, right? It's about decision, it's about leadership, and it seems like for you, with your voice, with your aspirations, with the things that you're wanting, with your leadership, because you lead, you're a leader. With your leadership, you choose and you choose again.
Yes.
Does that choice get harder or does it get easier?
So much easier.
Okay, good.
So much easier.
'Cause you've been pressed, right? And what
I
else?
love it so much more and more the more and more I do it. Yeah, definitely. Feels
And
good.
what are some of the things that you need in order to, I guess, like, trust, right? Personal trust, experience, that helps. But what have you seen from your clients and from people around you that, from shifting from the funky gremlins, I call them the funky gremlins, to actually feeling magnetic and worthy and aligned, what does that process look like?
Well, it's kinda how I mentioned, like, just going back to that feminine, and it's creating space. So one of my things that I am trained in is feng shui.
Mhm.
And so I like
Ooh.
to always bring in the element of fire. Like when we're building a fire and we're putting all the logs on top of each other, there has to be space in the logs for the fire to grow. It's right?
I
So there's
I just
gotta be
learned
like
how to light a fire this winter, so yes, I do yeah. Go ahead.
there's gotta be space or it's not gonna go. And it's the same thing for our creativity, it's the same thing with our business. If we just keep piling on more to-dos, that's the log. If we just keep doing that
Mm.
over and over and over again and saying, all the marketing bros tell me that if I just like get up at 5 a.m. and do this and then do this and then do this and do this, then it's gonna happen. Well, I'm sitting in front of you and telling you that is bullshit. It is absolutely bullshit. I mean, maybe it worked for them, but it didn't work for me because I have done that and I'm really good at working hard. I have no problem with that. But I noticed that there was none of the space that I needed in that. There was none of that growth. I couldn't grow my fire. I couldn't grow my flames. I couldn't grow my business and my passions and all of these pieces. I was just going to keep stacking. It was like I needed that space to step back, to take care of myself, to go on a walk, to eat yummy foods, to play in the sand. I'm in New Mexico, so there's a lot of sand out here. It's like one big sandbox. But to take that space is what we need to grow the fire, to be magnetic. That fire is our magnetism. That's our passion. That's our growth. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
kind of how I think about it.
And it's interesting because the space is the unknown, the space is the void,
Mhm.
and it's the can be the most uncomfortable place to be in because you don't know which way is up, which way is down. That's why intuition is so important because you can figure out, okay, that's for me, that's not for me. Oh yeah, I like that, I don't like that. And then you're guided towards yourself, towards your magnetism, towards your light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's just that easy.
Yeah, it's
You're
just
right, it
that
is
easy.
hard. That's the hard one. Because if you do the programs and you think of you listen to all the stuff, it's like you gotta do, and then you don't come up with anything. It's like, "Well, what did I do wrong?" Or "What can I make that mean about me?" Or, "Oh, my product is shit," or "People don't like me," or whatever those pieces are, but that's not true. We actually there's a lot of other factors that kind of go into that. Is our magnetism, our energy. What was our energy when we were putting that out? How did we feel about that?
Mhm.
How did that land for other people? As a projector, especially if you're a projector, man, our energy is like everything. Show up to a space where you're exhausted, they're gonna feel that.
We're gonna feel it.
They are gonna
Oh,
feel
especially
that.
yeah, projector. Many
Uh,
Jenny, I can especially as a projector, yeah. A
yeah,
Many Jenny, I can show up as just like, "This is the truth, this is what it is," and but if I show up and I am don't have my magnetism intact, ooh,
yeah, that's
there's a lot of projections, things come through and all the things, not
yeah.
fun. I absolutely love I love leadership, I love entrepreneurship, I love business, I love money, all the things, and I'm sure you love those things as well.
I love them all.
But one of the things I love about you, and I really resonate, and this is something that I've been coming out of the closet with more, is I freaking love beauty, and I know you love beauty too.
Yeah.
And talk could you, like, talk a little bit about your relationship with beauty and magnetism and making things pretty and, like yeah, because you make things look gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you. I have a lot of planets in Libra. I think that helps. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I love beauty. I love I'm very visual, so it's really important to me. They say actually, like if you're building a sales page or you're building a website or anything like that, like 80% of it is the graphics and the visuals that you put in to it. People don't look at all the words, right? How many times do you actually read every single thing on the page, right? So we actually are like, we're skimming and we're looking at the visuals and how does that land? It's that when we go on a first date, we go on a first date and they say like in the first 15 seconds, look energetically, but also visually, right? Does this
Mm.
make sense for me? Does this feel good for me? So I have been one of my first certifications was feng shui because I get to work in the home and I get to organize and I get to design and I get to do those things. And I grew up in my mom was really creative. She was a writer. And so I grew up with that kind of energy. I think kind of feeds into it. My sister is a really incredible creative and I love bringing in beautiful elements. I was actually in, training not that long ago, and I told someone that my love language was gift,
Mhm.
and they were having a hard time with that, like, understanding. Like, "Wait a minute, but you don't need, like, a lot of money or anything for that." I'm like, "But I do like nice things." Like, it's
Mhm.
okay to like nice things and
Mhm.
to receive beautiful gifts as well. So that is definitely a big piece of my life. I think having a space, I always talk about space. It's so important to have a space and environment that we work in that feels really good for us. Like if we've got our boxes sitting around or we haven't quite moved out of them yet from a year. I'm all working at something right now. I love it. Here, we all have it though. But it's true. It's like pulling those things out. It takes our energy away because we see it all the time and that has to be done and we got to think about it and all those pieces. But if we can move through our home, because think about how often we're at home, right? Like if we can move through our home in a way that feels beautiful, that, oh, I put on my slippers over here and this is where I make my delicious tea and I sit on my cozy couch and look out my beautiful window at whatever, or the artwork on my walls or the things that I just love. And having all those pieces make for a very beautiful, lush life. And you don't have to have tons of money to do it either.
No. And it just contributes to your magnetism. It makes you happy, it makes you joyful, and it's the cherry on top of life.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, I loved this conversation. I feel like it was just a coaching session for me.
So thank you. I know.
We always vibe. We always vibe.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was a good confirmation of like intuition and magnetism and finding your own way and then strengthening it. Cause again, it's not just like, oh, I get the downloads. Like you have to have a relationship with your intuition.
Mhm.
It's something that you have to show up to it every single day.
Yep.
And that will help you make the bigger decisions. It will help you make tough decisions. It'll help you make light decisions. It'll just like help you with everything. What is the last thing that you want to share with our listeners on intuition and magnetism?
I just got this something I've been really loving more and more in my life is really connecting with the earth and really having a conversation with her and being with her and noticing the animals that are around and the plants that are around. And I think it's part of the beauty piece as well. But we're in this new spot in New Mexico. We were in Minneapolis, like in the middle of the city. And now I have like hardly anyone around me, and I get to see the beautiful sun every night, lower every night, and I see it every morning going up, and I see the moon, and I see the stars. And sometimes I think aliens are going on over there, but I don't know. I'm in New Mexico.
Definitely are hanging out outside.
They're all over. But one of the things that I've been doing, and I just got this hit to kind of talk about this, is I always do offerings to the land every day. I do the 4 elements. I love to light the candles. I love to do a little bit of smoke, whatever, some kind of incense or something, have a little bit of water, and then I have my crystals. And then I usually give like an offering of some like fruit, like blueberries or blackberries or whatever I have in my fridge, right? So it's like this, it's again, this exchange. It's like the earth feeds me and I feed the earth. So it's like this reciprocity. That's a really beautiful thing. And if you want to talk about the feminine and feel like you need more feminine in your life, honoring the earth is very feminine. Very feminine way to go about it. And it's just been this really beautiful grounding practice that I do every day. And then when I go outside, and this is the piece that I kind of want to talk about as well, is like when we are just to kind of play with your intuition a little bit. If I see like a feather or a rock or something on the ground that I'm like, oh, this is so pretty, or a plant or something, and I want to pick it or play with it or take it or whatever, don't. Instead, have your intuition connect with you. Like I'll pick up the rock and I'll play with it and be like, is this something for me or is this something that needs to stay in the earth? And that's one of the tools that you can start kind of playing with your intuition with. And if it's a yes, then that's amazing. Make sure you're giving something back. So some kind of offering to the land, whether you're using different kind of herbs or some fruits like I like to use or things like that, but you're also giving something back. So you're giving that exchange now. So now you're playing in this world with the earth of exchange and understanding your own intuition. And you're not in this consumerism of take, 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 but we're in this place where we can give back, we can receive, we can give back. And it's just like the simplest practice. It's like the simplest thing we can do.
That's
Right.
such a beautiful practice, and thank you for sharing that. I definitely feel like I wanna do some type of offerings and some type of connection with the earth,
Mhm.
and I remember going to Bali and seeing the women do the offerings every single morning,
Yeah.
right? They do the smoke, and they put gum, and they put chocolates, and they put
Yeah.
random things in there.
Yeah.
Cigarette, pues así es in there.
Really, it's so funny. Yeah. And like it's you're like, this isn't safe. Well, I guess tobacco is very sacred, but yeah.
Yeah, tobacco is very sacred to them,
Yeah.
but yeah, so they put it and they do this offering, and it's just like this moment to, like, honor the ancestors, honor your guides,
Yeah.
honor the moment, and like you said, like, just get out of the consumerism and be really, really still. It's interesting, I have a gua sha that I've broken all my gua shas recently, I don't know why, they just keep breaking. I got one that's platinum that won't break, but I keep throwing them into my I live over a creek, so I keep throwing them into the creek, which is crystal, which I'm like, "That's fine, crystal can go back into the
Mhm.
earth,"
Mhm.
but I wanna make it more like a ceremony now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. See, that's so good.
Well, thank you so much for all your wisdom and your guidance, and I absolutely love you, and you're so
Aw,
fun,
love you.
and I love you so I just love, like, your story and your vision and what you're creating. How can people get to know you, get to be in your world?
Yeah, well, the Wild Ones is open for enrollment right now, and it's an incredible community. I definitely invite you to come in and hang out with us. We do moon circles, we do create altars, so that connection, if that's not something you have done before or wanna know more about earth ba braith I got this. Earth-based practices, you definitely come in. We love doing so many different things in there, but I love doing breath work. I know I've talked about it a lot, but it's been a really incredible tool to help heal my own trauma, to help with my clients healing their trauma. And then we've got hundreds of workshops in there as well. And Steffi's in there. And I know you did some stuff with dance and you did something on, I don't remember. It's really good. It's something sexy. Like I know sexy's in the title.
Wow, yeah, something sexy. Let's
It was
go
something sexy. But we do have some things on business, but we do have a lot of things. Basically, we do stuff on self-development and magic and all these different practices to help you connect. And it's all inside of a community of people that really get you, a place where you can hang out and feel like you belong and share yourself. And yeah, so come hang out.
Well, I'll make sure to link it below. Thank you so much. Mwah. Love you.
Thank you, everyone.